Hello, thank you for joining us. Welcome to another edition of In the Metal, where each week myself, Dan, take a look at the amazing, fascinating world of independent watchmaking. And every week we speak to someone different to find out about their life, their work, and their contribution to independent watchmaking. This week, we are going to the home of one of the great horologic innovators, inventors of incredible mechanisms, and a family-owned company, which have provided mechanisms to massive brands like Hermes, Fabergé, Cleef and Arpels, Harry Winston, H. Moser, and Singer Reimagined, to name just a few of them. So these are what this company does is amazing. So as usual, I would like to introduce and welcome my friend and partner in time, Mr. Dan Spitz, who's in Gunbarrel City. How are you doing?
What's going on there, my little furry Irish friend?
Well, you're not joking about the fur, man, let me tell you, because I haven't made it to a barber shop in a little while, so
Yeah, same here, man. No, it's really good to see you, bro. Really good to see you. I'm always excited for what we do together because we gather miniature tribes of legendary walking independent watchmakers and people of power within the watch industry, and the brands and the small brands and the big brands and the in-between brands. But the most important things to me is inventors, creators, and people that pass the torch and give the love to others. The love of watchmaking, the love of the secrets, because it used to be really, really, really secretive before the George Daniels book and before there was English-speaking schools outside of Switzerland. Secrets. A lot of secrets and complications. And to be handed that torch, like myself, through generations is a very, very important thing. It stems back to the apprenticeship idea, right? Even if we go to school or whatnot, back then it was more apprenticeship based, and you learn from your father, who learned from his father. So there's your grandfather and the great-grandfather. And it's a generational thing. And that's what we have today. We have one of the most important inventors, creators of complicated timepieces. I'm a complication expert. That's what I always really, when I started, that's all I wanted to do, just give me more. I want more pieces, more springs, more hairsprings.
Challenge, isn't it? That's the challenge. And when you're saying that watchmakers were secretive, that's because nobody blooming well understood them, because they were working away at these people thought, oh, he's a watchmaker.
Yeah. No, I mean it is. Before the internet, it was all secretive. Beyond the repairing a basic timepiece, and a lot of that stuff was secretive as well. But once you get into complication, the secrets were mainly kept within small spaces of people, and mainly within Germany and Switzerland. It wasn't really widespread or to be known, so that their jobs could be kept within there. So you had to hone your craft, get over there, and be cool enough to hang out with these cool cats. Luckily, I was cool enough to hang out with these cool cats, and they took me into their little secret society. I didn't have, it's like that college fraternity thing without the letters that are upside down and stuff.
Well, here, Sam, okay, on today's show, we have got a young second generation independent watchmaker, Nicolas Wiederrecht, whose family business is better known as Agenhor. And Agenhor are, I was thinking about this today when I was putting together the images and the story behind this. Agenhor, there are not too many independent brands have 8 GPHG Aiguilles awards over the years, including going back to 2007, where Jean-Marc, Nicolas' father, founder of Agenhor, won the award for best watchmaker And that is some achievement, let me tell you. So 8 aiguilles I count so far. So will we go and say hello to our guest tonight and welcome Nicolas Wiederrecht. How are you this evening?
Hi everybody, nice to be here.
Hey Nico, what's up, my man?
I'm very fine and happy to be with you. So let's have a nice talk.
Great pleasure to welcome you on to In the Metal. And Nicolas, I have been trying for ages to get you on, or your brother or your dad, and but your dad is gradually stepping back from the front as being the face of Agenhor. And you got 2 very capable sons. He left a lovely message last night saying, "My 2 brilliant sons." So
and so they are.
No pressure there, then, Nicolas.
I don't know who are those 2 brilliant sons. I know 2 of them, but the brilliant, I don't know them.
That's always the way. That's the proud father. You know, you really do have to feel that love, and you know, I always try to say that and help others that we speak to, or even behind the scenes, to keep pushing forward that, which is to push forward watchmaking to the next generation and give that love back when you can, when you have that time. We are very busy, most of us, at the bench, but to find that love and give it back to young watchmakers, or in our case, the show In the Metal that me and Johnny started from inception was just that, Nicholas, to get information from people like you who have been handed down that information from their father, who has had many sleepless nights thinking up complications, right? We know that, to give back in a form of modern day technology, at least, which is In the Metal, and have it there forever, for people to know what a great man your father was, his sleepless nights and inventions, because a lot of them were very kept quiet in the old days. We had to sign NDA contracts. For those who don't know what that is, it means we have to invent things or work on things, or such in my case, work for other big companies, inventing parts of timepieces or pieces, but we can't say anything of what we did because it goes under another brand's name. Eventually, your dad broke away from that, and of course, has got just incredible amounts of past historical inventions. And you and your brothers have been working there. So if you could fill us in a little about your family, how many fist fights you've had within your watchmaking rooms there, you know, and what it feels like to be where you are now.
Yeah, it's true that it's a family business, and it's for real a family business. So we've been working together, the 4 of us, so my father, my mother, my brother and me, for about 15 years. So we've been able to work a lot together, and without fighting that much, and that was pretty surprising. But, that was very interesting, and it's true that our father is now retired, but it gives him such a lot of room in the head to just create and create more. He's creating a lot at the moment, and he's finding out new kinds of complication, new ideas every day. So Brilliant. It was really hard when he was working here, because every time he was going on holidays, it was not that often, but every time he was going to holidays, when he was coming back, we had such a lot to do, because he came back with the ideas he found during the holidays. He's always on holidays, so he's bringing a lot of ideas.
But see that, Johnny. That's what I was trying to say. Creators don't shut off our minds.
You can't.
We say we lock the door. We're going on holiday, but we can't. You know, musicians are the same way. We're always thinking about riffs and song ideas, even if we're on a holiday away from the stage or whatever it is. It doesn't stop.
It's very deep in the DNA, so you won't cancel it.
No.
So, but that's what makes it interesting too. So,
without a doubt, but it is the kind of profession that you don't switch off. Like retirement is one thing. You step back from the front line. And there has to be a process of succession. And you're very fortunate that you have that time to be able to do that. So some people find succession is sort of foisted upon them through unfortunate circumstances, but it's nice for Jean-Marc to have that time to be able to watch the company cross over into new hands with new energy, new blood, and new ideas, but to continue and maintain that same philosophy of creating groundbreaking conceptual mechanisms for some of these extraordinary watch brands and like some of these maisons that Jean-Marc has been involved with over the years. Quite amazing. So it must be an exciting prospect, and it must be maybe a little daunting as well. You have a lot to achieve, to continue to. Exactly.
But the philosophy here has changed a little. The way of working has changed a little. We are two at the head of Agenhor, so me and my brother. And same for the construction. We changed a little the way of working. We are now in a very this is where we are working, but we are working in a very collaborative way. So we try to share the ideas of all the constructors and the one of my brother, and they just try to find the best solution without having one taking the lead. There is one who is able to take the responsibilities. So my brother is going to choose if they can't find the solution together, if they can choose between solutions together. So we would choose, but the things are chosen in a collaborative way, and this is something that is slightly different than before, and it's very interesting to see how people are working together now, and this is a way we like very much.
How many people do you have working there besides you and your brother and your mom?
We are 15.
15. Wow. That's great. Unbelievable.
It is, isn't it?
And Johnny, for people who have just tuned in just a little bit and might not know, why don't you flash just a couple little pieces of history so people can understand the monumental achievements within independent watchmaking. Okay, so we have family owned and we have independent watchmaking, similar to where I come from. People have to understand the feat of accomplishment that we're all doing here, and what Nicolas is doing in the new generation. We are totally independent, okay? So we're independent upon ourselves. We have no board or bank telling us what we can or can't create. Nicolas's father's created some monumental things way back when, before the internet, before the birth of independent watchmaking. What was independent watchmaking going to look like? What were our artistic micro-mechanical creations going to look like, being that we really didn't need to tell time on the wrist anymore? How far can we push it? You know, how far can we invent mechanisms that haven't been invented before? Mm-hmm. And that's Nicolas's dad and Nicolas working alongside of him to create these unimaginable accomplishments for other brands. So to step back and not put your name on something, that kicks ass, you know, because you got to convince those people and their boards that your independent invention kicks ass. That's yeah.
But I think it's a great strength to be independent, or at least not to be involved in a group or in a brand directly. We are here, and we have a lot of people coming here, a lot of brands, a lot of creative people coming here with ideas, and they all have their own DNA, their own feeling, their own emotions. And we are at the cross of all these emotions and all of those ideas. And so it helps us a lot to be creative. When you can mix different kind of ideas, you can find the correct one for the correct brand and the one that fits perfectly to the brand. So it's very important and very, it's a great change to be here and to be not involved exactly in one brand.
Yeah.
So this is probably one of the things.
It's a fun challenge, but that's certainly a monumental challenge, because within your company and being a watchmaker, you have to adapt, right? It's not It's your DNA has to mix with that person's DNA, because they can walk in and go, I'd like to be able to tell the stellar time between Mars and Venus. Can we figure this out? And that guy's been dreaming that forever, and you have to tell him, well, sir, we can come close to Mars and Venus. It might be, how about the stellar time between Earth and Venus? We can do that, but we can't do that. You have to work with other people. And some of us as watchmakers, we don't like other humans. We just like our watch bench and some mechanics. So we really give you all props for that. That's really hard to help along somebody else's dream and bring it into fruition. And
that's the way we like to work. And I believe that a mechanism is good and is strong when you can have a feeling seeing it. When you wear the watch, or when you see the mechanism, if you have a strong feeling coming, this is what is important. And the feeling, it will be different for each brand. And we are like actors, and we need to just like fit in the brand we are discussing with, just to try to find out what are their feelings, where are those their sensibilities, and just to think in the same way they do, but with ideas coming from other places. And for each brand, you need just like to take your coat up and take the other one that is fitting the other brands, and that's very interesting. And this is the part of the work that I love. It's just like to try to figure out what the other one is thinking, and to think in the same way than him.
Interesting. And just want to touch before we move on. The wonderful Gary Getz. Hi, Gary. Thanks so much for checking us out and for tuning in this evening. I hope that we bring you the answers to any questions you might have. Gary said he thinks it's important to recognize the big contribution that you personally have made to some of the big Agenhor innovations. So, yes, I have been saying about your dad at the beginning to about founding the company, but this process of succession obviously starts a long time ago. And so what is your role in the business? Are you the interface with the brands, or more technical? What is your...
No, I'm not technical at all. So I know more and more about techniques because I love it, and I'm just like swimming in techniques. But I've not been in a technical school. So I made an MBA, so I'm more in the business and administration part. So I'm more here like the commercial and just like finance and everything. So my role is to try to make everything simple so that the creative people can work without having problems thinking about things that are not that creative.
So many watch companies
from the brands, and I love to work and discuss with the brands. So I'm here when they're here, and we share ideas and share emotions at that moment. But then when it gets technical, then my brother takes the lead and discuss when it's more technical. Hopefully we don't have the same skills.
Yes, there's a clear separation of roles within the company. And like, how many small brands, Dan, are bogged down because they don't have the right person in that place? Hello, yep. And having that.
Me and a lot of my friends who like to operate solo, or maybe a little bit a duo. We do it all, from finding machines to restore, to doing our branding, doing our internet, being the creator, being the CAD guy, being the CAM guy, being the CNC guy, being the old machine guy, being the guy at the bench, being the modern day George Daniels, let's say, where we use modern day and old school mixed together. We're doing it all, and now we have what's thrown in what we're doing right here, which the people from the first generation, like George Daniels or even older, they only had 53 jobs, which is nothing. 53 professions. I think we're up to like 91 at this point now, thanks to technology and CNC. So yeah, it can bog you down, and we always will complain that we need help, but when we have help, our personalities are more in tune with. They can't do it right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Brilliant. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So it's wonderful to see what Nico was saying, that he compliments his brother. His mother is part of the team. His father can now hand off most of it, still come in with ideas to keep his mind going, so he stays young, which is very important, that you keep your mind going when you retire. Keeps you young and keeps you healthy. So it's very good to see a family-run business. With
a really good structure.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The company has it. So that's exciting going forward, without a doubt. To have that in place and brilliant. I think it's
and like the question states, Nico's been there a long time, right, Nico? So it's not like, hi, Nico, your dad gave you the company yesterday, and what do you do there? This has been a family for a very long time, even during the whole Singer Reimagined and Chronograph and essential Chronograph inventions. Nico's been there, so it's just.
Yeah, I started in 2005, so it was quite a long time ago. It was during the time of the very first poetical complication that were made for Cleef and Arpels. So it was quite a long time ago, and I think it's hugely important to have a long time for the change. So
that's before you could grow a beard, dude.
I've been working on it for like 1 month.
brilliant.
Oh man,
we do have another question from Thomas. Thomas is a fantastic supporter of us. He's been watching with us every week, and it's an interesting question because it is kind of offbeat a little bit. What is is there a part of watchmaking that is actually boring? Now, probably Dan, you might be better placed to answer that as a watchmaker, but is there a part of it, that any part of a watchmaker's life that would drive you insane with boredom?
I don't think in the watchmaking itself anything is boring, and from the very start to the very end, it's just like the magic of setting the thing, some pieces of metal together, and sometimes just suddenly it shows a time or anything. That's like magical. So from the very first spin to the very end, everything is very, very fun. The thing that is much more annoying is everything that is about contracts, NDA contracts, and all this stuff, and the thing that are more like about laws is something that is much more boring to my point of view. But this boredom regarding to the magic of the mechanism and of the creativity and the human exchanges we have with the people is much smaller. I mean, it's not really a problem because all the rest is so interesting and so passionate. So yeah,
I think when you're creating something, it's hard to see how some of it could be boring unless you're literally sitting watching paint drying. And but there's always something to do. There's always activity in the atelier. There's something going on all the time. There are components that have to be machined and finished and prototyped and checked.
So I would say it's boredom, if we could twist that word around a little bit, because the collector or the person who is not inside an atelier or hasn't gone to school for watchmaking, what we do, people are like, man, can't you fix my Rolex faster? Why does it take 6 months to fix my Rolex? Well, we're actually creating the mechanisms that make time out of just pieces of metal that get delivered on a truck. It's just flat sheet and round sheet metal. So we wish we could just condense that time that it takes a little shorter, because it takes, every day is very, very long for us, and some days are prosperous and some days it's stretched out to months. One day is 3 months. So that's I wouldn't say it's boredom. It's just we wish we can do things a little bit more swifter, but we just can't. It is the time to create something that is beyond perfection, because every single part has to be beyond perfection, because it's cumulative. If one part is 2 microns off and the next part is 3 microns off, we're 5 microns off, our timepiece doesn't work. We are dealing with these things like that. It's like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, there's maybe one thing that's a little more boring. No, I'm just saying that. So we are not machining the components. We have subcontractors in all the region making very, very good components, and we don't see the point in making it here, as people around here are very good and they are specialized. So we just keep making things. But when we order the components and we receive them all, and then we assemble for the first time, there's always 1 or 2 components that have to be changed. Yeah. And the thing, once we redesign the component, waiting for a few weeks or even a few months, depending on which one, for the components to come back, this is very annoying, because you're just like so excited about your mechanism, and you just need to wait about the time to process one component, and that's hard. Really hard.
We wish in America we have your problem, to go around the corner and get parts made. That's what I'm trying to at least get going as a representative of my country, and coming from Switzerland and working there and going to school there, is trying to get some of that infrastructure back here again, as we had it when we were the pocket watch kings and queens over here. We don't have that, so you have to actually take it all in, like I'm doing within my TA here. Everything has to be made with in-house.
The subcontractor that is the furthest from here is 200 kilometers away.
Wow.
Yeah, you guys can go in the forest and pick gentian tree wood and stuff, man. It's just a hike in the forest looking for your rabbits.
Well,
so let's roll back in some history and see some mechanisms and blow some people's minds so they understand what we're talking about here.
I think, Nicolas, you mentioned the first Poetic piece, which was for Van Cleef and Arpels. Was that the Saisons?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So this is where really it's where Agenhor, working with one of the big brands, the most highly respected jewelry brand, and in fairness, all their watches are just absolutely spectacular. I have to say, from a man's point of view, I think a lot of times that women's watches are overlooked, but some of the creations that you have provided for Van Cleef and Arpels over the year are just breathtaking. This is the Saisons, and so there is behind the white mother of pearl. I assume the dial rotates. Then does it?
Exactly. That was quite a revolution for us. And I remember when we were discussing with Van Cleef and Arpels, they decided to make a watch that was for the 100 years of Lady Apple. And they came and they said, we would like to have a disc, a massive disc in gold with an enamel on it. And that has to rotate in 1 year, so that it always shows the season. On the image here, we see that the winter is leaving, the spring is arriving, and the disc has to turn in 1 year. So the disc is very simple. You can see it this way, but it's really complicated because the disc is very, very heavy, and the watch has to be very thin. It has to be very classical and very thin. So you need to find a solution to have the mother of pearl, then a very fat disc, very thick disc, and then having the mechanism, and then the movement. So we had to change our way of making things, and not to set the complication on top of the movement, but to have the movement, so the engine, between the complication and the disc, so that the crown is in the center of the watch and the watch is pretty thin. So that was a lot of innovation, and all this technique, and the disc rotates in a very accurate way for something that doesn't show the technique. It shows emotion, it shows poetry, it shows a lot of things, but no, it doesn't show the accuracy of the thing. It is accurate because it has to. It is important that the philosophy of the watch goes up to the end, but this is not what the watch shows. Up to this watch, I was much more used to have something very complicated, like a perpetual calendar, and you show that you have 1 month and you're in a special year because it's the leap year, and then you have, so everything is like very rational, and here everything is very poetical.
It's beautiful.
Interesting.
Yeah, very.
It's anti-clockwise. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so the snowflake that will leave to go behind the mother of pearl.
Gorgeous. See, I love that. I love when I love when mechanisms are hidden, and it's secretive how they're done, and beauty is in the dial that emits that emotion to the wearer, to the purchaser who falls in love with a piece. That's really what it should embody. And they need not know, the pain that you went through at the factory to get there, but they need to know, they usually see a diagram with how complicated it really is behind the scenes. I love traditional watchmaking myself. Modern day watchmaking shows a lot of all the parts and no dials and all that, which is also really cool, but I'm more of a traditionalist. And it's great because it's great to listen to Nico, right, Johnny, and to try to explain, like, look, man, this just isn't just some dial that turns. This took a very long time to come up with a complication to do so, and then have it be hidden. I think that's badass. That's just like, I'm a badass. I figured it all out, and I hit it on you, bro.
Yeah.
I love that. I think I
believe that the wearer, the one who will own the watch, will feel the thing that are behind. They will feel that someone in the workshop worked hard, even if it doesn't see it. It will feel that Dominique Baron, who was making the dials, where he was here, and she just set her soul in the dial, and you can feel it. You
know what, Nico, I totally agree with you. That's kind of what I was trying to say a little bit. You said it even better than I. But it's that wonder that someone has. They have it on their wrist, and they just go. They imagine in their brain like they're listening to a song, like how did they make that song? Why does that song stay with me all day? They're looking at a timepiece like that and going, like, how the hell did they make this thing work? Like, it's so fascinating. I wish I could see it. And they start to imagine how it works in their own way. I think that's beautiful. This is
why the watch we're making in the high-end watchmaking industry are special. They're special because there's something more than just showing time. They're just like, you can feel something much more.
You've also worked with Van Cleef and Arpels a number of occasions, including one of the GPHG ladies. Yeah, the complicated ladies' watch, and which is the Lover's Bridge. Explain a little bit about this, Nicolas.
The idea here was that Van Cleef and Arpels is a brand from Paris. Paris is the city of love, and the idea was to show a love story on the dial. So what better than a love story than the moment when you meet the other person? And this watch is showing this special moment when people are just meeting together.
And there are 2 retrograde time functions here. Yeah.
So we know a lot about retrograde. We started in the 80s to make retrograde, so it's something we know very well, and it was very good for the balance of the watch to have retrograde hands, and for the story it was very interesting too. You see that the man is showing the minutes with his rose in the back, and every hour he goes up the bridge to see if ever her love is here, but she's not.
Absolutely.
It takes 4 hours to go up. So he comes 12 times to see if she's here, and eventually around noon or around midnight, they meet up the bridge. And one thing there is a blink that is interesting is just before midnight, the woman will leave the hour scale, go further, touch the hand of the man, so there is a little kiss, and then they go back at the same time to 0. So,
absolutely beautiful animation, but not
something that's we don't see because it's behind the dial. But we like to play with the components. We had to make some components, and we designed them like the lovers. So we've hidden like 2 couples in the mechanism, one in the cams, and this has a technical aspect that is interesting too in the workshop. When you have a lot of cams in front of you, you are the watchmaker, you have a lot of cams in front of you. If you just like have them in front of you, it's very hard to distinguish the one from the other.
okay.
Once the lovers are engraved in, it's very easy to find them.
That's killer. I never saw that. That's killer, man.
It's absolutely the attention to detail, Dan, is just there's the love story is actually continued throughout the mechanism, and
Yes,
you can see that where the 2 sectors are rotating, so the yellow components, the 2 that are looking like the man and the woman, the stone is set just at the place where the heart is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there is a red stone at the place of the heart. So probably their hearts are beating quite fast.
That's good, Nico. That's excellent.
I tell you, we nothing is annoying. It's so fun to work in that way that so you cannot get bored.
Yeah. No, it's just it's what watchmaking is all about. It's not like, okay, this works, great. Let's close the case back and not let anybody see, how it works or what it works and how beautiful it is or isn't inside. Let's just take it to the next level and come up with an idea that maybe no one will see except the watchmaker on the inside. That's the part of watchmaking that always used to blow me away when I was younger, when I would open up timepieces and take off bridges and take off stuff that was way underneath that only a watchmaker or a master watchmaker would be allowed to see, and get down deep in there and it's all decorated or special things were there for us. I would just sit back, put my tools down and go, man, this is what it's all about. It's beyond the beyond, beyond the beyond. And that's what that is. That's like, why don't we just put them inside the mechanism? And that was way back in time before all the see-through case backs and all that kind of stuff. So that's really cool, man. That's just...
A watch has to last for a long time. And I believe it has to be repairable. And I believe that in decades or a long time, when a watchmaker will open the watch, when he has a special feeling looking at the mechanism, he will treat it with a lot of respect and work on it. He will be happy to work on it. And this is why we need to go up and deep in the mechanism.
Yes. In addition, you said it perfectly again. In addition, because we see so much, right? When the longer we're around by sitting at the bench, especially maybe someone like me who's done so many years of restorations and stuff. And we open up and we do get down deep, like the story that I just told. We do put our tools down and we sit back and we go, wow, man, like that company just kicks ass. And then when someone else comes to us, I'll show you how this works here for branding, which is good for independence, right? Listen up here. We as a watchmaker, when someone comes to us and says, well, what should I buy next? We remember that timepiece. We remember that company who went those 72 extra steps to do something cool like that and then decorate it, right? Where no one's going to see it but us. And we say, you know what? Those guys kick ass. Go get one of those. If you like that design of the exterior, if that emotion fits you, they make a kick-ass mechanism that will last for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And we're passing on the branding. So you're branding inside, people, watchmakers, independents, you're branding inside your timepiece even if it's not a see-through back, that will transcend time and come back to you, or like Nico, the next generation of the family.
Sure. It's like a signature. We made one with Hermes too. That was interesting in terms of components we set in, and there is one of the components that is just like looking like the flying horse of Hermes. I believe, Johnny, you have it.
I have indeed.
Yeah.
Pegasus.
So here again, it could be just like a piece of metal, but it was so much more fun and just like more emotions to have something that is very like the brand, and very much like the brand, and just let play with mechanism. It's just like raw metal. It's something much more. It's something that has some heat in it.
It's alive.
Isn't it, Dan? It's
brings it alive. Yeah.
It's a different level. Do you know, I often think that, you know, every watch company, every watchmaker brings their own personal touch to the, and you're buying a bit. We've agreed on this before, Dan, that you're buying actually into the watchmaker himself. But to see these little artistic flares that are hidden away, the only person who might know about them is the watchmaker and maybe the owner, if it can be seen. And but they're what make a watch or a piece extra special in my view.
I think a lot of that should be stamped the word independent as well, because we will spend that money, we will take that extra time to design something like that when it's completely not necessary whatsoever, just to emit the emotion of what we do, the emotion of being independent, and just being, hey, we can do that, and our ideas, our stamping of independence, and taking watchmaking where it hasn't been before.
Yeah. So, well, we've got a lot of stuff to get through here, so I am going to go back, because the Lover's Bridge, the Van Cleef and Arpels Lover's Bridge, was not the first GPHG winning piece. So that honor went to a watch that is revered because it came from a series by Harry Winston, the Opus 9. And that won the GPHG for the Design Watch Award in 2009, I think. And so an incredible creation. So I remember pretty well this piece. When Harry Winston came, it was like in June, and they said, okay, you will be the one who will make the Opus 9. And so we had 9 months to have an idea, to find out what to do with it. So we had in mind to make like diamonds turn. It was something that we had in mind for a long time, and it was just perfect for Winston, we believed, because Harry Winston is a very good jeweler. And so we wanted to use jewels and diamonds, but not just in a way of setting them on a dial, but to have them like technical elements. And this is why we work this way. So they came in June, and early July, we had the idea roughly, and my father went to meet Eric Giroux, and Eric Giroux designed the case. Legend.
And, at the end of his holidays, he came with the design that was fitting the way we wanted to work in terms of mechanism. So that was a very, very interesting piece.
It really is. So for those who are watching, we're going to have an audio version of this very soon. So we're looking at an image of the Harry Winston Opus 9, and it has its hours and minutes are separated on each side of the watch. So there are this is not retrograde. This is actually rotating, is it? Or
yeah, it's rotating diamond tracks.
But in some way, it's just like the ultimate retrograde, because you have a start and an end of an indication. This is the principle of the retrograde. Here, the hand or the chain is not coming back, but it goes from one part to the other one. The idea of the retrograde came in the 80s. My father had the idea that the retrograde could show something that has a start and an end. And this is why he made a perpetual calendar that was this way.
For Harry Winston.
This was the one, the very first watch that was made by Harry Winston, or the first complicated watch that was made by Harry Winston. So it goes back to the 80s, to the late 80s, but the idea was that a month has a start and an end. So it has a 1 on a place and a 31 on another place, and then it starts again. So that was the idea of using the retrograde in another way that was made at that time. And at that time, retrograde were much more used for power reserve or a time equation, but not to show something that is usually shown in a wrong way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually previous to that was usually shown in a completely circular way, shall we say? If you're listening and not watching, we're looking at. Listen, Harry Winston. I mean, he came to the table with some really cool ideas. He just placed them off to independents back then, and a lot of them did have to. And a lot of them had to sign off on NDAs as well, which we always speak about on this show. And these were the ghost builders of yesteryear in the infancy stage of independent watchmaking, trying to break new rules, just like in music. Again, I keep bringing up these analogies in every show to the thrash metal type music we had, or the birth of heavy metal previous to us. How we didn't follow rules. We looked to break them, break boundaries, not listen to others. When someone told us, "Oh, this can't be done," then we would go down the street and find somebody else. And that's what's done and was done in independent watchmaking with Nico's father back then, and transcending and bringing us to where we are today. And I want to add in again, Johnny, and maybe you can further explain, both you guys, for those that are listening and maybe here don't know much about independent watchmaking. The awards that you're seeing on the bottom for these timepieces, the GPHG, these are the equivalent of the Grammys in watchmaking. Okay, so if you're all watching, we have to keep pushing this because people kind of just blow that off like, oh yeah, I just won an award. No, this is like the same as, I was up for many Grammys, right? This is the same as being honored at the Grammys, but for crazy ass stuff in watchmaking.
It's the top prize. It's the top prize, and it is very, very desired for any company to pick to win one of these GPHG awards.
Or to be nominated just once. Now you're looking at many nominations here and prizes.
Prizes, not just nominations.
It's pretty important to mention that the GPHG is won by the brands. So we do not win the GPHG. Jean-Marc won one. It was in 2007 as the best watchmaker. But then it's the brand who are receiving the awards, and it's the consecration of a very good collaboration we had with the brands. So yeah. They have good ideas, and they have the design, and they have everything around it. And so we help them creating interesting timepieces, and we're very happy when they win some.
Excellent.
Right. It's the same, Nico. All I'm trying to do is explain to collectors who might not know or understand how big that really is to get those. Like the equivalence is the Grammys, and it's the same thing, right? In music, you collaborate. Possibly you write a song for a film, or you write a song for another band as a ghost builder, a ghost writer, same thing, right? And then you get that award, and you get to share that glory with those other humans, and it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and what we're looking at here, folks, again, it's the Harry Winston, it's the Quantième Perpetuel bi-retro, and so it is supremely complicated piece. As you say, rightly so, Nicolas, that it's the brands that win the awards, but every time a band wins a Grammy or a movie wins an Oscar, there's a whole team behind it. There's sound engineers, production, there's all sorts of different elements are involved, and everybody feels that they're part of that collaborative effort to have achieved those awards. So brilliant. So yes, we will.
If we're talking about GPH, it is one thing that might be interesting. I'd like to talk about an experience I had with Fabergé. When we worked with Aurélie Picot, and she wanted to be at the top of watchmaking, and she wanted to have something very special, and we made with her the Peacock watch. So the idea here was to have the peacock of the peacock on the dial, and he is just opening his feather every hour to show the minutes. And this piece is very special regarding the GPHG, because Fabergé won the GPHG with this piece. But when I look at the watch, I'm very proud, and I said, wow, I made this watch. And when I go and discuss with the dial maker, who is McElherron, they feel very proud of their watch, because they have the feeling that they made the watch. And when we discuss with Christian Rowe, who made the case, he feels very proud because he has the feeling that he made the watch. So Fabergé was good enough, and already had a policy that was very interesting, that she set us together, the case maker, the movement maker, and the dial maker, and she was here only for the red lights. When the light was green, she didn't have to be here. She was here when it was important, and all of us felt the responsibility of the whole watch. And this is why the complete watch has been developed, made, and set on the market within 1 year, because we just felt all very involved, and we all have the feeling that we won the GPHG, because the collaboration was really intense and very interesting.
Yes, beautiful. And I remember this. I remember that watch. It made a huge impact on so many, with nothing like it previous, and that's an achievement, man. That it's just beautiful.
Yeah, and this is what is behind the mother of pearl and the gemstones. This is the mechanism, manual winding mechanism, that has been created. And this is the thing about Agenhor. Your movements are not another interpretation of something that's already there. Everything is designed, developed from the ground up to do a specific specific display function.
Exactly.
And with the peacock, with the rotating hours, the wing spreading along the, again, retrograde minutes, a favorite feature of Agenhor, and so the watch, the movement is conceived completely from scratch. Yeah,
that's true. But we designed a movement from scratch, but now we reuse all the elements that we made in different ways to show time in another way, or just like we fit the movement to the brand or to the case.
Yeah.
And we reuse the things, but we reset them in a way that fits the brand. So it's a tailor-made movement then.
For sure.
Well, I mean, back then, a lot of the stuff that was coming to you as far as ideas and design were for ladies' watches. So that becomes quite okay. We do have to design the movement, the caliber. We can't use an e-bosh. We can't slap a module on there, because it becomes too thick for what was okay and back then. Now, obviously, bigger watches are in for ladies. But it wasn't acceptable, so there was only one way. It's only one way to do that, and it's a big feat to accomplish in less than 8 years' time to develop a movement, which is average for just a basic time-only movement, right? I mean, look at me here. It's between the escapement and whatnot, we're 7-8 years here. So it's not easy, people. This is not just get a movement and slap a dial on it. This is real independent watchmaking, working with some of the most creative designers and imaginary people who just imagine ideas and they're brought to life through micro mechanics and some of the world's best artisans who, even though their name's not on it, just like a song and music, they don't care. They feel their everything is in it. And it's because of what they stamped, their soul within that product and that idea that they feel it was them that brought it over the edge. And the other guy feels it was them that feels. I love that story, man. That's killer. That just shows how much love is in that piece. It's just beautiful.
Absolutely. There's other the piece that you've won GPHG for. We'll get through them because there are still more to come. We're trying to do it in a chronological kind of a way here. Maybe stepping back a year or two here for the crazy, because not all watches have dials, do they? So
I love it. That's just my favorite.
Roman spacecraft, like that is an absolutely iconic watch of the 21st century. Incredible piece. And so what was the brief for that one, Nicolas?
So the brief was the name of the watch. The brief was we would like to have a spacecraft, and Eric Giroux again had already some drawings, and we just needed to fit a movement in a case that was designed this way. There's the look of Darth Vader on the watch too, but this is the design we received about. And I remember that at the beginning we started working on it and we didn't find any solution, and we tried to make a prototype. It was with wires and different things and didn't work. And this is when my brother started working with us, and I remember him waiting for about 2 days without moving in front of the screen and saying, "Oh, how can I find the solution?" Because when he came, he said, we gave him the challenge. Okay, you are brand new, you are the son of the boss, but you'll have something tough to make. And the solution to make it this way. And as it's a spacecraft, it thought that the bridges were looking nice if they were looking like a spacecraft and a space capsule. Nobody will ever see it, but it's nice to have this blink in the watch.
An incredible mechanism, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, I never noticed that before, and I've seen this many times before. I never noticed the spacecraft bridges. Now I really see it. That's really cool, man. So that's great, man. So your brother sat down at the desk, at the watchmaking desk, and you guys immediately proceeded to torture him. I love it. Yeah. It's freaking great. All right, son of the boss, get to work and fix this problem.
It kicked him out, but
I see that. That's great, man.
It really is.
Family tradition.
Yeah, very fun to work on.
See, that's it. Now this whole show, that was the only story we were looking for, Nico. How do you torture your brother?
Family business.
That's it, man. We're done now, bro. That's it. Now we got your brother on the show next week.
Oh, here, don't worry. I asked him, but no, wisely said, not for me.
Oh, man.
We'll look at some of the components.
No, what's cool about that story was your brother overcame. All of you overcame, right? It can't be done. It can't be done. We can't figure it out. Throwing the tweezers down. Crap. It's impossible. You're building up models. That's what we do as independents. But we don't take no for an answer. There's going to be a solution. That was your dad's brain, too. There's going to be a solution. We don't know when. We'll get there, though. Put it aside. Move on. Do something else.
It was impossible, but we did not know it, so we made it.
Yeah. That's the coolest part of watchmaking and micromechanics.
This is the way the Hermes temps suspendu was made. At the beginning, we thought that it was impossible to make this watch. This watch seems to be pretty normal when we look at it this way, but it's very special in its philosophy. The watch is showing hour, minutes, and a retrograde date, a calendar. But we never have time enough to do what we want or to spend time with people we like or we love. And this watch gives you the opportunity to offer time to the people you love or to spend time to things you never have time to make usually. When you press on the button that is near the 9, the the calendar will disappear, so the hand will disappear, and our minutes will show a time that does not exist around noon. So with this watch, you have the possibility to offer you a parenthesis and to just be on your time for a little time and to breathe as long as you want. It could
disconnect.
be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour, 1 week. It doesn't matter. When you press on the button, the watch shows you again our minutes and the date. The calendar.
It goes to sleep for a little while, if you like. It's
as long as you want.
Yeah. Again.
But the complication is not that it goes to sleep. The complication is that somehow it knows exactly what the time is going to be the second you press it again.
Exactly. So there is a memory of time in the mechanism, but you decide to show it or not to show it. But the trick here suddenly arrived, and my father came back and said, okay, I found the solution. If you look at the watch, you seem to have one retrograde hand, but no, you have 3. Hour and minutes are retrograde on 360 degrees. It means that the hand will never make more than 1 turn. So it goes up to noon and poof, it comes back backwards for 360 degrees. So once again, we're using the retrograde system, and the retrograde system is absolutely magical for this kind of things, because when you have something that points on the cam, and you can decide to remove it from the cam, but the cam keeps the memory of time in it.
So it's a vertical clutch is on the cam. But your dad loves, like me, he likes the retrogrades with hairsprings, old school. That's my favorite as well. Your dad's always jamming extra hairsprings in there too.
But this one is not with hairsprings.
Yeah, this one is vertical clutch. Very cool.
Yeah, you have 2 column wheels, but then you have like normal springs that are pressing the sectors against the cams. We didn't have space enough to set the hairsprings in this one.
Yeah.
No hairsprings. They're snell cams and vertical clutches.
Yeah. This is something.
Yeah, snell cams and vertical clutches. Very cool. Very cool.
Do you think these up? You know, sometimes it just.
Yeah.
Do you know, how do you think these up? So I'll be honest, and I did not realize that the hour and minute hands were retrograde as well. So you're telling me at the top of the hour, every hour, the minute hand in a heartbeat goes back to start again at 12.
So here, if you have the chance to look at your watch, when the hand comes back to in a retrograde way, you don't really see it, but you have the feeling that the watch has blinked at you. You don't know what, but you have the feeling that something happened and that you had a connection with your watch.
And so then, at midnight, at the stroke of midnight, you have the hour hand, the minute hand, both go back 360 degrees.
Not exactly at the same time, but about at the same time you have the both that are coming back. But you don't see it, but because it comes back to the exact position where it was before turning back.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, absolutely, of course it does. And the calendar obviously moves forward one as well. Is this all simultaneous?
Exactly, about simultaneous. And when you press on the button, the hand will go and hide behind the 5 and the 4. So you don't see it anymore.
You don't even see it. Absolutely brilliant.
And again, that theme that I love, it's very traditional looking. You don't know the complications behind it.
Tradition is very important. Watchmaking in tradition is very important to our point of view, but you don't have to have it dusty. You just have to set some technologies, the new technologies, but with the respect of the tradition.
I agree. It's very hard It's when you're sometimes a young watchmaker, you really want to show everyone what you can do and put it all on the dial or put it all here and put it all there. I think as we gain watchmaking tradition within us by spending time at the bench doing restoration in many years, you start to calm down a little bit and you really appreciate traditional watchmaking. what's inside and traditional watchmaking on the front. Just keeping it clean. That's the mystery. Like what you just explained, everything about this piece is great. It's like a mystery, you know, within the story. Like no one knows how it's done, bro, until I just told you. You didn't know. You didn't know this. You didn't know that. And there's so much more you don't know what's inside. Mm-hmm. That's the coolest part, man.
So that won the toughest one. It won GPHG Award in, let me see, in what, 2011 for the men's watch prize. Then a number of years later, a few years later, you were back at GPHG with Hermes once again for their slim Quantième. And that won the calendar prize. Yes.
Mm-hmm. We had a lot of fun working with Hermes on this one, and you can find this special way of showing times from Hermes that like their craziness a little, because you have at 6 o'clock you have a second time zone, because the problem with perpetual calendars usually is that when people travel, they change the time on their watch around midnight in the plane, and oops, the date jumped and said, oh, okay, now I need to fix it. And the more you try to fix it, the worse it gets. So on this watch, you have a second time zone that allows you to play as much as you want with the second time zone without the risk of modifying the normal calendar or the perpetual calendar. But then they show it in a very special design way. That is the craziness of Hermes. Usually perpetual calendars are very strict and very technical. Here there's a touch of craziness.
Wonderful.
And once again, on the mechanism, we tried to make something that was very horological or very respectful of tradition. And always trying to find solutions to make things very, very thin, as thin as possible.
Mm.
So we're just racking up prize-winning watches here, award-winning watches,
mm-hmm.
The whole way through, mm-hmm. And it is to see that, to hear about the concept of the second time zone, to allow you to adjust the time without interfering with the perpetual calendar settings, because resetting that, as we know, is it can be a bit of a complicated thing to do all the same. So I also wanted to go. Sorry.
Yeah, there's I was just jumping to something else, but here tradition, perpetual calendar is a very traditional complication, and then with this one we are a little further than the tradition with adding another complication on it as the second time zone. And then we found out that there were many cultures that were not using our calendar, the Gregorian calendar. For instance, we have the Arabic countries that are using other calendar. They have their own calendar. That is the Hijri calendar. It's a calendar that is based not on the sun that we have, but on the moon. This is why the Arabic countries have years that are shorter than ours. And this is one that was made, this is a calendar that is showing the actual Arabic time, the Arabic date. And with another calendar, which is ours, because all of those people keep using the Gregorian calendar for everything that is about business appointments and everything. But here you can have your culture on the wrist, your way of imagining things with just a touch of what is the date, what is the calendar that you use for the everyday life. So once again, we are on calendars and we try to find it in other ways. And we found out that other countries have other calendars, but then we went even further with Parmigiani and we designed with them in It was a great collaboration with them, and especially with Mathieu Pavlak, with whom we had a lot of fun working. And this is a perpetual Hijri calendar. So you have the trick with the perpetual Hijri calendar is that they have a cycle that is not of 4 years like ours. Every 4 years you have the leap year. Here they have a 30-year circle. So it's pretty complicated, and so it was a lot of work to find out solutions because it had never been made. So once again, we have with the tradition of a perpetual calendar, and we had some new knowledge and new technologies to bring it to something that was not made for a perpetual calendar, but for another part of the world.
Amazing. Yeah, it's crazy because you all got it. You get wow.
So this is the mechanism, and the way of working was slightly different. And DM Surface was very, very much involved in making these components, especially the bridge and the plate, because if you see the bridge on top, it was really hard to make. It's not a conventional one.
Yeah. Well, also, taking upon what all these complications are, and for people to understand that it's not just being outsourced to 20 different people to try to come up with ideas. This is what you do. This is what you're good at. And just taking things that can't be done, haven't been done before, and somehow designing the micromechanics that make them work. So it's an explosion of mind cells to be able to pull it off. Because me and a bunch of my friends and what independent watchmaking is this is what we do. We break down the walls and create new boundaries. And that's what your company does. And it does it for other companies, and it just racks up basically award after award after award for this hard work of taking a risk. People, you have to take a risk. That's what independence is. We don't have to answer to people in those boardrooms again. When someone comes up with us to an idea, to Nicolas, previously his dad and his brother and his mom and his company, they go, maybe give us a little time, let us try something, let us think about it. And then it's like, wait a minute, man, this is a challenge, bro. We got to do it. We got to figure out a way. And that's why and when you win awards. Not that you're in it for awards, you're in it for the challenge. That's what's cool about micromechanics, man. It's challenging. It's like trying to write a hit song, and you do. And then you know what? You won a Grammy, or you got nominated. How are you going to do the next one? How are you going to top that one? And that's who we're sitting with.
Exactly.
Right here. That's what they do. That's what independence is. We don't quit. We want a Grammy. All right, let me go. Sit on an island somewhere and have some girl fan us with a palm tree. It's not what it's about, right? It's about, okay, what's next? I'm like a racehorse, right? We're all like racehorses. Give us another challenge, please. Somebody give us a challenge, or else I got to challenge myself. Or else you're going to torture your brother one more time at the bench.
We still have a few more watches to look at, but there's a great question that's just come in there from Kronos. Thanks for watching, Kronos. Always good to have you on board. The question is, could you explain a little bit about the process of conceptualization of a new complication, be it for Fabergé, for Hermes, for Moser, or what is the process? How does it start? On a piece of paper? This was your...
No, it starts with laughing with people around the table. We are together, we are having fun, and we are just like having ideas. So this is the first step. The second step is to say, oh, it is impossible. So how will we make it? That is the second step. And then it brings and moves, and suddenly something comes out. So this is how it starts. And then the thing is to take a piece of paper, and that's important, a piece of paper and not a computer, and to set on the piece of paper the way it will work. If it's hard to set on the paper, it's going to be too complicated. So you need to be able to just set it on a paper with just a pencil. And once you have this piece of paper and you see that there is a possibility, a reasonable possibility to make it, then you start working on the computer. Do not start designing one wheel and then another wheel on the computer, and at the end you go, okay, you need to move a little more. You have to have the big picture at the beginning of what you're going to do, and then you go further.
It's visualizing.
You want to go in the computer and make things. Just to brief a little, set it on the paper, and then starting. This is what is important.
How many people, Johnny, have we had on here that say the same thing? How did it start? You asked them, how does it start? Almost everyone, Nicolas.
Yeah.
We drew something. It was an idea, and I drew it. We draw it. It always starts on paper. It's amazing. Yeah. And even for me, I can't draw. I draw a stick man. It has like a one leg and a half an arm. But no matter what, it still starts there somehow. Because you know what? It's in my head. I got to get it out. And I just sketch something. It might not be anything that anyone else could understand except me. And you are 100% right. Everyone across the board said the same thing. I still.
Yeah.
If I go in the project files, you can find some napkins parts.
Right.
So that's
the second part. Napkins, because the idea was here, and then we started working on it.
Old school.
There you go, Thomas. So that's the second part of your question, kind of answered as well. Is so the process of calculating and identifying what components are required comes after this brainstorming, and it is quite a luxury, Dan, I'd say, to have like-minded people to be able to bounce your ideas off. Where you, for example, you could bring your idea. Who do you talk to? Yourself, you know, and so to be able to have that brainstorming session is, I think, it's a luxury. But then, Agenhor pushed the boundaries continuously, and that's why nothing is ordinary with Agenhor.
And once you have the first drawings, you need to try to find out how to simplify it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do not be happy with what you did. You need to go, because the first thing you did usually is too complicated. So find out a way to simplify the equation.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
To remove some numbers from the equation to have the same result but with less things. So that helps you to have more reliability.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
fascinating.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said.
Absolutely.
Make something complicated very simple. Everybody, try to do that as best you can for longevity reasons. Take that from someone like me who's worked on so many complicated things that are always broken because of somebody not applying that basic principle we just spoke about.
So listen, time is marching on as ever. I can't believe how fast this hour.
Oh, this is killer, man.
I just can't believe it. But there's a few other pieces that I wanted to look at as well. Because one is from a piece that you created for the wonderful Fiona Kruger, and that is her mechanical entropy. And so Fiona hopefully will be joining us in a few weeks' time, or at least in late May, early June sometime, I hope. So it's wonderful to get along. This was just Fiona is a designer, and she came to you with what?
We met her once. She was giving like explanations about design, and we discussed with her, and we had a great feeling with her. And one day we had the idea with her to make a movement, and she's incredible. She has a huge book with sketches and everything, and it's very interesting to see. She's a real artist, and she had the idea of expressing like the Big Bang, and the watch had to be different, and to express this very start of life or of Earth. And this is why we designed our movement looking like an explosion.
It definitely it is a big bang in a different sense of the meaning, but a wonderful watch. So we look forward. Actually, we will be Agenhor will be back on our one of the subjects we talk about for sure when we're talking to Fiona.
And Nico, how is it that all the women are attracted to you guys?
I'm listening to the show, so
I'm thinking some of the other watchmakers want to know your secret. No,
in private message.
What I'm getting as a side note, I know that was funny. Maybe it wasn't. I'm not a comedian, but I'm a watchmaking bench comedian or something. What I'm getting at is the importance of mechanical timepieces and women, and we're often always speaking of how that's getting left out. And I think more of that needs to be paid attention to, because women nowadays are they're wearing mechanical timepieces, larger mechanical timepieces. They don't have to be as thin anymore. And I think more watchmakers should really think about, if they have one piece, maybe designing a second piece, for women. And it doesn't just have to be, hi, let's put diamonds on something and make it look, think outside the box, think outside the box.
You asked me for the secrets. Probably there's one word and very simple word that should be much more used. It's like respect. I believe that women have need to be respected in a way that it's not because they like stones or we believe they like stones that we don't have to pay attention to the movements. I believe they have the same kind of feeling than a man for mechanics, the magic of mechanics. Mm-hmm. And having a watch, and when you flip it, you see something that is moving, the heart that is beating. You can, every morning when you wear your watch, you just set some life inside of the movement because you just turn the crown. There's no reason that we can feel this emotion and that they could not. So we like to make things dedicated to women because we love to work for them, and we like to have to show this respect that of course it's deserved. It's not a movement with pink things on it. The movement is designed especially for a woman's watch, especially what was made for people.
Thank you guys for doing so. It's needed. More is needed is for sure.
Sure.
And hopefully I can provide some of that as well coming from here.
Absolutely. So we are approaching our hour and a half. There's still a very significant piece that I would like to talk about, and that is another award-winning piece, but not only award-winning because it was a game changer. It's taking what is perceived to be a 200-year-old complication, which is a very complex complication, but a very popular and very common complication. It's called the chronograph. And what Agenhor did with the chronograph was not add their own little twist to it, but was to completely go back to the very, as you say, the brainstorming, sitting around and saying, how do we do this? As if it had never been done before. And you come up with the incredible Agenhor, an award-winning mechanism that has been successful, has brought success for Singer Reimagined with this extraordinary piece. And it really is like nothing else before. Again, this came out very close to the same time as the Fabergé Vision, and both powered by the same extraordinary mechanism, the Agenhor. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Nicolas?
The idea here, it's a mechanism that was very important to our father. Since he was in the watchmaking school, he thought that there were some things that he was not very comfortable with chronographs. For him, it was very important to have a chronograph that is readable, that you can read the measured time on it. Usually the chronograph with the 3 counters are a little hard to read because the counters are very small and it's not that easy to calculate the time that is measured. Here the idea was to set the measured time as the master information on the dial, and to have hour and minutes that are further and not that important. The important things was to have in the center the chronograph, the measured time. So there are 3 hands in the center: hour, minutes, and seconds. And all of the hands are measuring in a scale of 60, the scale that we're used to read. So here it's quite easy to read that it's been running for 20 seconds. It's easy to read that it's been running for 42 minutes. And it's quite easy to read that it's been running for 7 hours. You just need to have in mind that the hours need to be read the same way that the minutes and the seconds. So here, the chronograph on the image we have has been measuring a time for 7 hours, 42 minutes, and 20 seconds, which is quite easy to read, even from far from the watch. I mean, you don't have to point your nose on it to know exactly what time has been measured. So the idea was to bring the information to the importance it needed to have.
Okay. Yes. Indeed.
No, it goes way beyond this for watchmakers, dude. This is like, I mean, chronographs is my love, my specialty, and it's just what I set out to do. You know, when I wanted to learn just basic complications. This is something that not your dad and all of us at the bench who were into chronographs dreamed would someday, somehow, someone would crack the code. How? Why do we got these stupid little dials that nobody can read, and it's so complicated? Why aren't they in the center of the watch? That's basically the question. And your dad somehow cracked the code, and what you're looking at there is how you crack the code. And as you can see, it wasn't easy. You know, yeah.
We can say that it was not that easy.
Yeah.
This is how you crack the code. Because this mechanism...
The trick was to have a hole in the center of the movement. If you see the GPHG 6361, you see that in the center of the movement you have the hole, and the secret is here. Once you have a hole in the center, you can set a chronograph in the center. On every usual movement, the center is used for showing hour and minutes, and then you have to work on the side of it. So here the idea was to change it and to start with the chronograph in the center, and then to build the movement around the chronograph. And as we like to work with modules, the chronograph has been designed like a bunch of modules that are added the one to the others, which is unusual. Usually the movements are all together.
It's absolutely groundbreaking, and rightly so. Whenever it first appeared, everybody was writing about it, everybody was talking about it, and it's an absolutely sensational piece of mechanical engineering and innovation. And so just correct me on this one, but the Agenhor movement is actually the AG 6361. You can actually work with another. It has the potential to be used for other functions, not just the chronograph. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's an engine, and then in the space left, you could set anything.
Yeah.
The chronograph is the one that is called Agenhor. The heart, that is the third one from the right. This is the chronograph, and the AGH 6361 is the engine that will make the chronograph move. But the movement on itself is working. It's working on itself.
And are there other ideas in the pipeline then for the AGH 6361?
That's a
or
very
would you
good
have
question.
to kill us if you told us?
Of course, we love to play. We have a lot of things in the drawers, so things are going to move forward, and more things are being shown. But then there's another one that was made that was slightly different too. Is the Moser, the chronograph that was made for Moser, which is different because On this one, this is the mechanism from the back. This one is slightly different from the Fabergé or the Singer one, because it doesn't have the hours on top of the dial.
Yes.
We have minutes and seconds that are shown for the chronograph, the measured time. So the two thin hands are showing minutes and seconds of the chronograph. But here you have the hands in the center showing hour and minutes. And this one is slightly different because this one is flyback. The chronograph is flyback on this one.
Mm-hmm. It's the modularity of how it was designed
Exactly.
in motion. And what's also beautiful, it's one independent company helping another independent company. Everybody, so pay attention, please.
Working with Edward is very, very fun and very interesting because he is the head of his brand and he can make decisions.
Yeah,
and that is very valuable with the independent brands because they can just the director can work the way he feels and work with his emotions, and it's not a board of a lot of people who are deciding, but it's one person with his feelings and his sensitivity, and this is very interesting. And one thing that is interesting too with this chronograph is that it's automatic.
Automatic.
So it is automatic, but if you look at it, you don't see the rotor. Because we love mechanics, and we didn't want to hide half of the movement with the rotor.
So where is the rotor?
It's the edge and pad on the left-hand side. It's
under the dial.
Between the dial and the movement.
It's under the dial.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep. So let's not just play with your mind and reinvent the chronograph, crack the code that nobody else has ever been able to crack the code. Let's just make it all modular too. Let's switch the modularity. And by the way, let's just take the rotor and throw it on the other side of the movement where it never is.
But it makes sense, doesn't it? It makes sense because when you've got such a beautiful piece of engineering.
It makes sense, but mechanically, let's think about this. Let's think, how do you have a spinning rotor underneath a dial? Now, how do you figure out how to mount that dial without it interfering with something that's spinning? It's like mystery circus stuff. Like you go back to sleep and go, it's impossible. Let me just throw that one out. The napkin went out the window down the block.
Exactly, you spotted the difficulty.
It's inspired. It's inspired.
But that's the fun of all this. How do you overcome, right? Because no one else has. We've all thought of that. Oh, well, yeah, exactly. Why are we hiding the movement? Let's just put the rotor underneath the dial. Well, that makes it thicker. Now we have no way to mount the dial. Like, how are we going to do this, bro? The other guy goes, "It's impossible, dude. Just forget it." And that's not the way you guys fly. It's great.
Yeah, that's right. That you showed this image. This is something that you find on every of our movements. Once again, we wanted to simplify as much as we could the escapement or the balance wheel. Here, the idea was to have the simplest balance wheel possible. So no screws on the side. So as simple as possible, because in the air, this is how it works the best. But then and there is no racketry as well. So the question was how to modify the speed of the movement. And the idea here was to work on the length of the hairspring.
Yeah.
So, you have here you have a lock on the screw that is down. You have a lock, so you open or close the jaw that is maintaining the hairspring. And once you have opened the jaw, you have the other screw that you'll use to set a little more length to the hairspring, or to have a shorter hairspring. So if you flip it again, you can see that there is, we don't see the jaw very well, but the jaw is on top at noon, but you see a round thing that is at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
This round thing will turn and bring the hairspring to be a little longer or a little shorter. So it's very easy to set the speed of your movement, and it's very, very simple in the amount of components you have.
It's a miniaturized version of our hairspring timing tool called the E-Luthi or Spiromatic from Griner.
Exactly.
When we pinch the end of the hairspring, people, he's turning the screw from the top, and that can actually create pressure between 2 points and move that hairspring without damaging it. That's the key here. Longer and shorter. Which is just a great idea. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Even if the round thing was damaging a little the hairspring, that would not be that much a problem because it doesn't work on that part. It doesn't have to be damaged from the jaw to the center. So everything that is after the jaw up to the round thing doesn't matter a lot if it's damaged or not. It doesn't damage it, okay, but even though it would not be a problem.
Right.
Amazing. There's one other element I wanted to look at. Just because we're wrapping up now in a few minutes. Everybody.
I think we're at like 38 patents by now.
Oh. Do you see the amount of
we didn't speak about that stuff.
That and 1, 2, 3 in that alone, and that's I'm sure everything else is patented as well. But the copyright pen on all of those patents, just for the beauty of the engineering.
Oh yeah.
What's this?
This is a component you'll find in the Peacock watch. You know that on the Peacock watch you have 4 feathers that are moving together, and the 4 feathers are moving in a retrograde way, and they all need to be at a different path. So one has to be fast, the second one a little slower, and so on. So you need to have those 4 feathers moving at different speed. So it's just like on a bicycle, you have different gearing system, and each of them is making the feather moving faster or slower. But then we had a problem with play in the gears. If we had normal gearing system, then the feather would move a little
freely
because of the play in the gears. So here we have a very special and patented shape of the wheels, so that it allows the two sides of the tooth of the pin to touch both sides of the wheel at the same time. So there is no play in the gear anymore.
It's just on its own a beautiful little.
Yeah, just that alone. I remember when you guys came up with that we all were just looking at the actual gearing and the shape of the teeth, and it was like, bravo, man, because we all had that problem with whatever timepieces that we're working with. Is it epicycloidal or cycloidal or whatever the gearing is? We always have some kind of play, and then there's play after wear. And you accomplish the feats that others won't tackle, and you don't say no and you don't stop. And in the end, it's beautiful micromechanical art. It's just so killer, man.
And once again, one of the secret is flexibility. You need to have the flexibility on all the movements, and here on every tooth you have flexibility.
But that's independence. Once we move into larger and larger corporate type brands, the money and how much it's going to cost to build that special gear, it all starts to come into play. And with independence, it's more about, man, we have to create this art because you said it can't be done. Well, that means we have to do it. Because we're all like-minded that way. Even the people who aren't watchmakers, even the people who come to you with the basic idea on a napkin or in a sketchbook like Fiona, whatever it may be, right? They're just determined to get it done no matter what. Just figure it out. If it's a special gear, don't worry, we'll figure out a way to pay for it if you can make it happen. That's the beauty of independence, man. That's just what separates us all from the rest of the herd. We're the you know, we are the groundbreakers. Let them all, you know, learn from us and borrow from us. That's cool. As long as nowadays we do get to shine a little bit, because we can post pictures nowadays when allowed, right? We have social media to the world. So we're not really hidden behind closed doors anymore. We get to talk to people like Nico, his dad. Hopefully maybe one day we'll grab his brother and learn about more of his torturing sessions from the rest of the family. And we'll learn more about, oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go. We'll learn more about what really goes on behind the scenes there.
Indeed.
From a human standpoint and a family standpoint, because listen, Nico, from that picture, we can all tell that you have a loving family, you have a loving father. That we all know anyway. And he is so proud of you. You don't even know. You might hear things, but man, he's very proud of you and where you're going to take what he built into the next generation and for generations to come. And we're all proud of you, man. We're all proud of what your dad has laid the groundwork, but where you and your bro will take this, man. And we're all watching you, man, and we're all there for you.
The proudness go reverse too.
Brilliant. Dan, it's getting near time to pop the question, my friend.
How's your dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the question always is, sometimes it's in the beginning, sometimes it's in the middle, sometimes the end, is what kind of music were you brought up on? What do you listen to music when you guys are creating? Do you listen to music when people first show up and present you with that napkin idea? What kind of music is that? How does it infiltrate the workshops? However you'd like to answer that. Being my background, obviously, is in music, and I'm, just crazy ass kind of watchmaker wannabe fused with that music. We want to know what's inside of you.
I remember having heard music here, like Amy McDonald. Amy McDonald, we love to have it because it was bringing us like a lot of energy here. But I would be more to listening to like Portishead. This is something that brings me in a mood of working, of just like concentrating. This is something I like very much. Or earlier it was Moby. I'm a big fan of Moby too. And just like the B-side or things that are like not exactly common, but this is something like electro music this way is something that is very special to me. And there's another kind of music, but I like to have it live, is when I come to Ireland. And to Ireland you have like great players in the pubs, and it's just like someone just going up on the pub and just playing and singing, and then it's the second one, the third one. And once again, just like in watchmaking, you have like the feeling, the emotion, and that's very important to me.
It's rare that Irish music gets a plug within the metal, but
nine right there, man. You got to know.
Listening live. Yeah. I wouldn't play it here at home.
Yeah, I know it's a bit too lively.
I need to come back.
Oh, that's
I need
killer.
to be in a pub for it, Nico.
Yeah. As soon as they open the pub, I come.
So
that's great, man. That's great.
You know what? Let's just say there is a picture. The man who started it all set up the company in 1996 and has really blazed a trail of invention, innovation, and it's wonderful. He is now handing it over to yourself, your brother Laurent, and we just look forward to, firstly, so grateful to have had a brilliant story of Agenhor tonight, and it has been I think we've covered a lot of ground on it, and so it's fantastic. So for everybody who has been watching, thank you so much for tuning in. and staying with us. I know we've promised we do it for an hour. We are liars. So it's Dan Spitz's fault. So
blame it on me. Blame it on me. We're just really grateful for you, Nicolas, your family, and to show us that family can overcome obstacles, and they're cool obstacles.
Great things.
Your achievements are understated by your dad, by yourself, by so many. But tonight, we all saw award after award after award of what's considered the Grammys of watchmaking that you create for others, and that you share with others, and you share the love of micromechanics at the highest possible level to the world. And we thank you for that. Just keep pushing, man, and take that torch and just roll with it, and keep torturing your brother for us, and from me too.
Thank you for showing us the world of Agenhor and telling us so many of the great creations that your family business has been responsible for the contribution to independent watchmaking, and it's been absolutely wonderful to hear. So don't go anywhere for a moment, Nicolas. For everyone else, thank you so much for watching us again.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Johnny. I had great fun. Thank you very much for listening to me and to giving me the opportunity to talk here with you.
It was great. Our real pleasure, and it's lovely to have it up. So, folks, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you again next week on In the Metal. We'll be back same time, same place. Do us a favor, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a little follow on Instagram and Facebook. We're just at In the Metal on both of those platforms. And we'll see you again next week for another episode of In the Metal's Independent Watchmaking. Bye.